another episode of Get a Load of This. From the Silver Creek Studios, I'm Jared.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm fucking drunk. I'm good. This is Joe.
We are all a little more inebriated at this point.
Yeah, it's a later night.
It is a little late.
normal.
It's a little later than we normally run, especially for an episode.
One of us is unemployed tomorrow.
I'm fucking, yeah.
Two of us have to answer a bell. My bell happens to be a room away.
Yeah. One of us is unemployed. The other one is working from home.
I got a
That
bell.
leaves
I got
me.
a bell to ring. I got to get up eventually, and then I gotta go.
The dogs are going to be like, hey, we want to pee.
Oh yeah. I'm not on dog time. That's for sure. But yeah, I gotta go move my box tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fucking shit show. Oh my god, it's gonna suck. Cause, well, fellas, I don't know. Maybe we'll read it in the blotter. I don't know. It might turn into some real shit.
Right? So a lot of people move their box in their job, but usually they're doing something quite different than you do.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you can truly move that. Jesus Christ. Ladies, if you're moving your box like I'm going to move your box, like I'm going to move mine, I got to strap it down. Do me a lot of pushing. I got to bring in some real stuff.
I don't know. That's it may happen. I don't know.
It may.
On the dark web somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what we're talking about.
So we got all this technology. We got recording equipment and microphones and Audacity and cell phones and all this
Wieners.
shit. We are nerds. We sit in our basement
my
studio.
I would say 2/3 of us
Come on,
are
now.
nerds. Joe's not a nerd.
I would say I'm a nerd.
He's an auto body nerd.
Yeah,
You can do some shit with a fender
He's a
that
closeted
you don't
nerd.
even wanna know.
Trust you me. I am Fred Flintstone. That fucking
Well,
bell rings and I'm up.
Yeah.
That's a different way to look at things. Is that is everybody a nerd for whatever they happen to be nerding out about?
What is a nerd?
What is a nerd?
That was the topic.
Well, because, and this is how it all came up. I don't feel as if someone that's smart or educated or excellent, so to speak, should be dubbed a nerd. To me, a nerd would be a 45-year-old fucking loser with a Green Lantern shirt sitting in their basement.
So like
Hold
Sheldon,
on, I gotta check my shirt.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sheldon
No,
from
I'm
The
good.
Big Bang Theory.
yeah.
If he had never married Amy Farrah Fowler.
Amy Farrah, yeah, that.
Yeah.
But see,
alert.
not even that because he was still productive.
Right, he was a doctor or
I'm
physicist
talking. I'm
or
like,
whatever.
Ma,
Yeah.
it's pizza night. You know,
Just a guy that just has orange fingers from eating too many Cheetos.
I'm thinking more like Will Ferrell from what's that?
Yeah. What was that?
Wedding Crashers.
Yes,
Yeah,
Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, that's
I
to
almost
me.
said old school.
So he was a baller, though. He was getting all kinds of. He was a player. You know, he brought.
Was he?
Well, that's the story.
He was
Right,
giving
yeah.
them the game.
Right. Yeah,
this is how
working
it's
at the
done.
funeral, but
So he's not a nerd.
But that's just not real.
But he was still
But
kind of
that-
a
I-
loser.
So sort of that
Yeah.
antisocial aspect where
Right.
you're, holed up on your computer somewhere. You're not socializing with people.
Right.
You're
how about like
But
Jesse Eisenberg in Zombieland?
Yeah. Well,
He was
see,
nice. He was
Yeah.
isolated.
Yeah.
yeah.
Pizza boxes,
Right.
Code Red. I mean,
Zombieland's a good movie, man.
that's a great movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But let's go back. Let's go back to.
To me, I think of nerd as school years, right? Junior high, high school.
Sure.
You get
But I think it carries
labeled
through.
as a nerd.
But
Well,
I
right.
think
but that's where it starts for most people.
I think most people our age would if I say the word nerd, you immediately think Revenge of the Nerds, right? You think
exactly.
of that type of
Yeah.
pocket
Right,
protector.
So
Their
what
connotation.
was that type? It was the smart, doesn't fit in with
antisocial or awkwardly
but
social.
see, I don't necessarily. Even then, I mean, those type of people were with themselves, so they were still social.
Right.
Well,
Sad,
sure.
sad
But
and
as soon as a
demented,
girl
but
walked
social.
up or the jock walked up, they were like in their shell. They just,
When the jocks walked up, but we always had the moves. They had the Omega moves.
Yeah.
But
The moose.
you moose sure know how to party. But
Was Booger really a nerd, or was he just kind of the outcast?
he's an outcast.
Yeah,
he
so
was,
he
more
was
an
not a
outcast,
nerd,
right?
you know.
Same
But, like,
with the Chinese guy who came,
Yeah.
or Wormser, who was the 15-year-old prodigy.
Was that Wormser or was that the? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Wormser.
I'm getting my names mixed up.
And
on my Revenge of the
so
Nerds
he's a prodigy. He wasn't a nerd. That kid was just smarter than everyone else around him.
Well, and so here we go back to the timeliness of things. Lamar was just a gay black
He's
man.
an outcast
Yeah,
in this situation.
and he wasn't a nerd. He was just a
a gay black
anomaly
man.
in
Right.
1983 when that
Two
movie
strikes.
was.
So
He had
what
two strikes.
what defines a nerd? If Booger wasn't a nerd and the gay black guy wasn't a nerd, what is a nerd?
Exactly. What is a nerd? That's I don't.
So I think a nerd. Let me. I think I'll just give you my opinion. I don't think I'm going to dispel any preconceived notions here. But a nerd is someone who excels at school, is
Right.
more intelligent than their counterpart, and that has some social awkwardness. I think that is the definition of nerd. Today, in 2018, I think a nerd, number one, it's a coveted title almost today.
Yeah.
To many
kind
people,
of.
it is.
Well, but
That they want to be that nerd.
stereotypical nerd.
Well, they don't
and
want to
that's-
be the pocket protector, socially
No,
awkward,
but they wanna
they
be
want to be
smart.
smart. They, girls
Sure.
want to wear glasses and look. They wear fake glasses.
Yeah.
There's a certain bravado that comes with
There is.
nerddom
But
today.
I
think.
feel like that's almost not fake, but
Not almost. It definitely is fake. But
Well,
but
yeah.
that's
Well,
the
that
difference
is
in
fake. But if you take a smart kid who is sociably awkward and runs in small packs or whatever, I wouldn't call that kid a nerd anymore.
No.
I wouldn't. That it's almost like that
then,
connotation.
then what
shouldn't be-
is if the smart socially awkward kid isn't a nerd, what do you think a nerd is?
I told you. I think
The
a
guy in his
nerd to me
Okay.
who almost would be the connotation of a loser, which
Yeah.
is the mid 40s. I work 32 hours a week at 7-Eleven because
Yeah.
I don't.
I
Want,
guess I just
I
consider-
don't think I want to work full time yet. You know, I
Yeah.
don't want to commit.
I think that's just more of a loser or Hoosier or pathetic, whatever. Like
Right.
a
I
nerd
agree.
would be like, in an adult sense, it could be the guy that is the manager of the Best Buy and knows all about the latest computer, blah blah blah, or the iPhone store, or whatever. And he's
Yeah.
antisocial and awkward, but he's successful. He doesn't live in his
Sure, I was
mom's
gonna say,
basement.
'cause I can tell you
He's
right
got-
now, fellas, running a Best Buy, there's fucking real money in that.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, no, that's what I'm
I
saying.
knew a guy
You could be
who
a
ran a
successful-
nerd. They can be a nerd. You're right. They
Right.
can be.
That to me could still be a nerd, where the guy
I
that
see
lives in
that.
his
I see
basement and he's
that.
playing Fortnite all
He's
night.
more of a fucking loser.
That guy's just a loser.
Right.
He might also be you could be a nerdy loser, but
Yeah, I mean,
So I
like
think
in,
what
in
you guys
his
don't-
weird circle.
You guys don't realize is that maybe not in your workplace, but in your workplace and in my workplace, we probably run into those nerds that are super gamers, and nothing disparaging against those
Right,
those
no.
guys.
Well, see,
But
I don't.
they're-
But I don't get that shit. I don't.
Well,
get,
me neither. I don't either, but I did when I was younger. I played a lot of video games.
Yeah.
But I think that more and more, if we call a nerd someone who plays a lot of video games, so it's a more complex definition.
It
I think,
totally is now. It totally is.
So I think I don't know. I just think that it's not as simple as just as pigeonholing and saying
Right. You're a
and saying-
nerd.
yeah.
Fuck you,
now
Right.
I will
nerd.
say, and I've
But
got
then again, it wasn't any easier in 1983 or whenever
Yeah, it
the
was.
Revenge of the Nerds came out.
It
No,
truly
because
was.
we already established it wasn't, because we had Lamar, we had Wormser, we had
I understand that, but at the same token, people were a lot more simplified in their mind, so they instantly just pigeonhole them into that,
yeah,
and they put them in the gym,
Yeah.
and that was it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and now you're an outcast because he's an outcast and you're an outcast, and that was it. And then that was it. Boom. Now, granted, yeah, you're right. In today's society, well, Lamar probably wouldn't have been an outcast at all.
No, not at all. No, he'd be completely accepted.
In fact,
Furthermore-
I think
and that's something
Booger-
that is
Booger would have
accepted,
had
being
more
accepted.
of a problem.
Well, he had to stop picking his nose, but other than that, he would have been, But yeah,
And that's part of it. If you are accepted, let's say as the gay black guy or whatever, right? then you're not ever going to be classified as a nerd because you're accepted by people if not embraced, right? And you're going to, so that's part of it, is whether you're smart or gay or a nose picker or whatever, right? You're just not accepted by everybody else. And at that era, that was a nerd. You're just not accepted.
Which was just so easy to, I guess it was just so easy to drop somebody into that. I don't know. It just made me think. I guess I was driving home or something, and you know, I was just thinking. I don't think that the connotation that nerd is.
So here's a question: were you ever considered a nerd at any stage of your development?
I would say no. I'm sure people see. I would think that people would never consider me a nerd. I would think people more considered me an asshole.
You're ogre.
Yeah. I am. I would always would have been that. I was a bully at times. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say I wasn't.
You weren't the Ted. What's his name? The quarterback of the
no. I was. Yeah. Well, that dude was beautiful. As far as that's what they. Yeah. They tried. No. I was ogre.
That was his name.
His Ted name something. Is
I
don't know, but he's.
So Ryan, were you ever a nerd?
He's the guy who ruins TV shows,
right? Yeah, he
ruined Happy Days. He ruined
the
Married with Children.
Married with Children. Yeah. No, Ryan, I definitely was considered a nerd. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I tried to probably most of my adult life say try to avoid that, but yeah, there's no doubt. I'm a 43-year-old man. I don't give a shit. I was absolutely a nerd. I wanted to be in the accelerated programs, and I was. See, here's the biggest problem I had is that I was a borderline nerd. I wasn't even nerdy enough to be in with the nerds. I wasn't smart enough to be in with those guys. That I had to, just be just the awkward guy that didn't get to go to the dork meetings.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, maybe that's why you didn't get to go. You call them dorks and shit.
Yeah, well,
maybe you're a little
my
nicer
sister
to them,
saved my ass many times. I mean, it was so being a nerd.
Well,
in the 80s,
see, your sister was cool.
Yeah, she was cool.
She kept that shit right.
Well, and she did her best to keep my shit straight and narrow, but it was hard. I was a project,
Yeah,
I've told the story about her pulling my socks down whenever I went to the swimming pool. It was shit like that she's like, "You can't wear that, Ryan. You can't. You cannot go out like that. Here, come here. Let me fix you. Let me roll your sleeves up. Let me do this. Let me unbutton the top button. Just
learn to smoke.
Trust me, And she did a valiant job. And
good job, Beck.
But I don't think that there's no avoiding it. That. Despite all the appearances, despite all the efforts that my sister made, or that even I made to try to appear as something other than a nerd, I was a nerd. I liked computers. I liked video games in the 80s, which was a different time than today.
Right.
Today, it's just commonplace. Everybody likes computers and video games. But in the 80s, to sit down and play with a computer was... Right. Yeah, it was nerddom. It was 100% nerddom.
Yeah, see, but
and very few people appreciated what you were doing.
Right.
They didn't understand why you would sit down and spend hours looking at this green and black screen, typing letters in, trying to get your computer to do some random task.
But I don't know that it was like, okay, imagine an 80s era quarterback, jock, cool, whatever, right? Picture that.
Jake Ryan.
Now that guy sits down at a black and green computer screen and starts coding whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that you don't picture that at all.
No.
So
I would say that very rarely happens.
Right. But to me, part of it is the type of personality who would sit down by themselves in a dark room and sit there typing away at a keyboard for a long time. Kind of required this sort of antisocial personality who didn't want to go out and hang out and ride bikes with everybody else.
They were in or what pants they were wearing.
Well, that's the genesis of the nerd. So what created the nerd? So if you say that what caused me to sit in front of that computer was the fact that I was uncomfortable.
Right.
Going outside, you were doing this or that, whatever. I was just trying to find my place in the world. And And I was a nerd, but I wasn't like super. There was a lot of guys that were way beyond me, but I was certainly on the spectrum.
But somebody might have looked at you and been like, "Why aren't you out playing with us? Or why aren't you out going to the movies or whatever?
Yeah.
You're doing what? Sitting at a computer?
Right.
Nerd.
Fucking nerd.
Right.
Well, but then the beauty of the time that I grew up in, the 80s primarily, was that things advanced, and so Nintendo happened,
right.
and
then all the cool kids had a Nintendo.
Well, and now computer games, which
did you have
that,
like a church Nintendo or something?
No.
So before that, man, everybody had
Atari,
Atari, but
Atari 2600.
But then when Nintendo came out, everybody was about video games.
Yeah.
I mean, universally, and it wasn't dorky to play video games like it was 2 years before that.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, it was to a certain extent. In my world, I used to say it all the time. So we go over to Buddy's house and say, "Hey, we're gonna play fucking golf or something," and they'd sit down and play this shit for hours. And I said,
and you weren't into that game.
No, I wasn't in any game. I wasn't in any of that shit. And I said, well, let's go outside and play this.
Right.
And they, no, I don't know how to, I don't know how to play that.
See, and that's the big. I think the big difference is that but, and we're the same age. I mean, we're 9 months apart in age. But I had friends that there was very few that didn't play video games.
Yeah,
I can think of off the top of my head of my good friends growing up. There's like 2.
But you could take
that did not.
You could take that activity and like make it nerdy, right? So everybody was playing video games at that era. Not everybody.
No, not everybody.
Not Joe,
everybody.
but a lot of people were, right?
Yeah.
But you might own it. You'd play the newest game. You might not
like
beat
I
it.
had a friend of mine,
and then you'd be done, and you'd go out and play basketball.
Right.
Or the nerds would sit there and play it for 8 hours and beat it and get the highest score and play it again and get or whatever. Right. Unlock every secret and be like, "Have you found the castle with the blah blah blah?"
That beat Tyson the first night.
Those were the nerds.
Well, right.
But he played it until he just kept playing it.
See, here's another thing: is that I don't think that the guys that played Tyson.
Jesus Christ, Ryan! That is
I got an issue over. That's a lot of
empties.
beer. Well, yeah, enough of you. Enough of you. But the guys
my whiskey bottle's getting low.
The guys that played Mike Tyson Knockout, or the guys that played Mario, are the gals for that matter that played
Zelda.
Tetris.
I liked Zelda.
Well, see, but Zelda I think is a nerdy game. I thought if you got into Zelda, that was a different level that I was not ready to commit to. That because I'm maybe I'm a short attention span, ADD or whatever. That was like, all right, you can only keep my attention for however long it takes to play a game of Tetris, or however long until I die
Tetris
trying
to go all night.
Could no, but no,
I did all night one night.
Yeah,
I was going on a camping
You were a
trip.
nerd, man.
Briefly though. So like I
stop denying it, Joe.
Yeah. So I played Zelda all the way up until I walked into the room where you killed the thing and then you won the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't kill it. And I did it twice. And went through the whole thing and got it all. I was like, oh yeah. And then I couldn't beat it. And I was like, fuck this. All right.
I'm
done.
out.
I'm up.
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, what do you mean? You're done. You ain't gonna play this again? I never again. Never played it again.
Yeah. See, I never liked Zelda. Because it was just I don't know, it just didn't appeal to me. There wasn't I don't know.
And then Tetris, he had Tetris, brought it over to my house because we had Nintendo too, and we played it. And we were just fucking playing it, and I was like, yeah, this is all right. I like this, and fuck, I didn't know I was going on a camping trip. He came over on a Thursday, spent the night, and then I was leaving Friday with another friend to go on this camping trip as kid, and I was like, dude, I got 35 minutes to pack and take a shower and everything. We played all night, and the next day we're in the basement. So sorry, dude.
Yeah,
get out of my house. Take your game.
Video games are addictive. I think that the main reason why I'm not a gamer today is because, well, number one,
you don't have the time.
I'm a dad. My kids play the games. In order to take time away from them would be a battle in its own right. Plus, I got other shit going on.
Now, do you think, okay, so skip ahead 10 years.
Yeah.
You think you would then?
What do you mean? Skip ahead from like if I was born 10 years after I was?
No.
Okay.
10
years
years
from
10
now.
years
10
older.
years from now.
Oh, okay.
It's just you
My
and
kids
Mom.
are gone.
The kids
Oh,
are
right.
gone. It's just
No.
you and Mama. You got plenty of time. You know,
Yeah.
she's upstairs fucking doing her thing.
Yeah.
And
I'm
you've
probably
got
playing
about
video games.
4 or 5. You got 4 or 5 hours
Yeah.
on a Sunday because ain't nobody coming to the house.
I'm playing video games. Yeah.
At
No.
50, you do that still.
Yes.
Nerd.
If yeah. Well, fair enough. If my kids weren't trying to monopolize the time and I had free time, then yeah. If it was an appealing game, I mean, the other problem I have with games today is that I was brought up in a simple time. I started on Atari with a joystick and 1 button, and then I went to Nintendo with 2 buttons and a thumbstick. Not even a thumbstick, a directional pad. And then now there's too many fucking buttons on this
I
damn
wouldn't
thing.
know how to fucking do that shit.
And then there's guys.
I couldn't do Sega.
No, I love Sega. Well,
I could not.
Genesis,
I could not play Sega, and that was.
I think today or yesterday is the anniversary of the release of the Sega Genesis. So this is timely episode here. But no, I kicked some ass at Sega Golf and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Hockey 95.
And hockey. Yeah,
I had 2 buddies of mine that would fist fight over NHL 95.
Oh yeah.
Fist fight.
See, I was in college when those games came out, and everybody had their Sega down there, and we had tournaments and shit. We took the shits pretty seriously, and yeah, I mean it was like what's that, Swingers with
Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn, and I mean it's like there was fights over a video hockey game, but yeah, it was games would have to be simpler than they are today. I watch my kids play Fortnite. I've watched them play Call of Duty. I enjoy watching the game happen, but there's no way I can make my thumbs and fingers do what they're doing. Not with. I don't know. They take a lot of practice.
You probably could. It's just that I don't think I would put forth the effort.
Well, right. I got other things to do.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I would rather stare at a wall, honestly.
Nah, I wouldn't say that. There's other ways that I would spend my time other than that. But you never know. I mean, I watch a lot of shitty TV too. So, but regardless, I think here's a question: if you were a nerd, are you always a nerd?
I think
is there some vein that always runs through you?
Well, yeah, because I wouldn't even call. I love cars. I've always loved cars.
Well, you're a car nerd.
When I was a 7-year-old kid, I was into GTOs. I was into just cool cars.
Old muscle cars.
Cars. We used to fucking get magazines, Carcraft magazines, and cut out cars, old Chevelles and shit, hang them on my wall.
Yeah, but you're not the antisocial about it. That's the wrong word, antisocial. The socially awkward person about cars, right?
No.
You're the cool guy about cars. You know all the cool shit and
I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not Jake Ryan. But yeah, I know how to talk to people if that's
But maybe you were a nerd about it as a kid.
I was
reading
hobbyist.
The magazines and stuff, and now you're not a nerd. You're like a car enthusiast.
Well, he turned his enthusiasm as a child into a profession.
Right? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. No, but
so I think you
good.
can
but
grow
a lot
out
of nerds turn their enthusiasm, their computer into a profession. I mean, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs,
right?
Still
nerds though.
God, I wish
Jobs
but you know
dead,
what? I would gladly trade just to have what he had. But
well, sure. But look at Chip Foose. I mean, he was a nerd. I think he was an awkward young man.
Probably.
I mean, we may never know.
Fuck, you ever listen to Jesse James talk? That dude is scared to death to even speak 6 words to people.
He's a bit of a goob. But
I mean, I like him. Don't get me wrong.
No, I agree.
And I like hearing what he has to say. I like him more than Chip Foose. Chip Foose is I like him. I love the looks that he gives to cars. I love what he does with cars.
Talented guy.
Talent is endless with him. He's
a nerd.
Magoo.
He's
Magoo,
a nerd, exactly.
I
But
guess.
that's my point. Is that he took? I think that Chip Foose has been drawing cars since he was fucking 8 years old. You know,
Probably,
and
yeah.
he's
or elephant penises.
well, maybe
one or the other.
But he's a very talented artist, and he was able to
Very
draw
talented artist.
like crazy. But then he's
how
also
can you-
able to take those drawings and
turn them
fabricate.
into, right? How do you draw? Hello. My name is Simon. I like to do drawings.
And he can shape metal.
And then on top,
Simon.
and I like to do drawings. But how in the fuck can you do drawings and then
fabricate metal?
fabricate metal?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, those
it's
two
amazing.
things are not necessarily related.
No, but he does
But
them.
he finds
he
a
does
way,
them
yep.
So I think
exceptionally
Chip
well.
Foose is
Same with Boyd Connington. Boyd Connington
All right.
can do the same thing.
rest his soul. Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
let me ask this: I've seen his show a bunch of times.
Foose?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Amazing artist. I can't actually recall. Is he out there forming metal and
I don't think in the
stuff?
show he was
Is it
too much,
just
but
his
he
shell?
does.
Okay.
No. On that, like 7 days to get this pile of shit turned
Yeah,
into
the,
something.
the what
So
do they
if
call
anybody
that
ever
show?
has
He
some-
can walk the
It's
walk.
called overhauling.
Overhaul. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
If
Okay.
whenever they have a beer fart, he fucking he captures it and
Okay.
picks it up.
I guess most of the time
He's
when I
also
see
the
him,
same
he's
one
just
that-
sitting in an office bossing people
Another
around.
one
Yeah,
that
I
can
think he's
do
pretty active.
Okay, so he can
he is. Yeah, no. Boyd was more
Sitting in the office,
sitting
pointing
in the
fingers.
office, but you know what? Boyd earned that right.
Right.
Sure.
In his day, he
in
was
his
building
day, he
some of the
was-
greatest
He was
cars out
leading
there.
cars and shit.
I don't know who Boyd is.
Boyd
Boyd
Coddington
Coddington
was Chip
Look him up.
Foose's mentor,
mentor.
Okay.
along with Jesse James.
Yeah.
Boyd
Yeah.
Coddington also employed Jesse James in his earlier
And
years
another
as well.
one too. There's
Yeah.
another guy starts with a P. He doesn't have a show though. I don't think.
Yeah, but I know there's a whole swath of
Yeah.
hot rodders
that all
that all
came from
worked
the
for Boyd Coddington.
That all came from the Boyd.
I do
Coddington
actually,
family.
now that you say Coddington, I do recognize that.
Well, and he had a
said
a
Boyd,
line
I
of
didn't know.
wheels that he
Yeah.
sold just like Chip Foose sells wheels now. Foose is, I mean, he's got an empire. Coddington had an empire too. He died at
another
a
guy
relatively young
Yeah,
age.
he did. Well, shit happens.
Right.
It's a guy in Utah, Kindig, which is he's got a show.
I don't know about this one.
I can't think of what his show's name is. You'll have to. He's got a real long, skinny goatee. Kindig is his name, his last name. He does. It's so fucking cool. Some of the shit he does, like.
But is he a nerd? Is he one of those car nerds? Like,
Yeah, I think
like
he's.
when
I
you-
think he's a car nerd.
when you think about, I don't know, it's like Jesse James, going back to like Coddington's proteges, right? I don't think of him as a nerd. I think of him as
I don't
I
think
think
of him
he's
as
a cool guy. I think,
But
maybe,
I think he's socially awkward.
maybe a little bit. But I think,
guarantee he is.
but I think I mean, the guy just tatted to hell. He goes out there, he rides whatever he builds. He's a boss.
that-
People respect him.
But I think if you needed to walk up to him and talk to him,
He'd
it
be
would
awkward.
be very difficult.
But that's not that in its own right doesn't make a nerd. I don't
No,
think.
it doesn't make
Yeah.
him nerd. It makes him socially awkward.
Well, sure, but I think that like you take Foose, Coddington, you take those guys, and they are all of those things. They were obsessed with their craft. They were obsessed with creating something, and they sat in their basement or their room, and they just drew pictures of cars, and they clipped out, magazine articles, and then they turned that into creations. That's the car nerd. But I think again that parlays back to the computer nerds, right? So
So do you think there were guys in the 80s clipping out pictures of like PCs and shit and putting them on
absolutely. I
the wall? Really?
Yeah, for
not
sure.
not only do I think that I
Ryan
witnessed
did it.
Like a picture of a PC on the
Yeah.
wall.
This
That's
is the new
fucking-
Pentium 5. It's going to come out and be like 533 megahertz.
Well, Pentium
And
5
it's going to have
was
a
way
16
too late.
megabit hard drive.
But the folks that were into the
It's gonna be
DIY, the guys that hung out at Radio Shack and were severely
That's crazy. I watched Young Sheldon.
yeah love
This-
Radio Shack yeah.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
Radio Shack. And he would go and look at a
Yeah.
computer and
And even that tames it down because what that was, I guess Sheldon, his age puts him at that age about the mid 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you put that same child in 1980 or 78 to 82, now what they're dealing with is the Apple II, not even the Apple II, the Apple One, which is the Lisa, and that's a DIY. They sold you a motherboard. And you had to make your own cabinet for it. And a lot of people did it out of wood or whatever materials they could, and they would craft and get a keyboard that would fit into it, and they would literally build their own computer and hook it up to the TV screen.
But you needed to be into it at that point.
Right.
Yeah, and you had to have a soldering iron. Yeah.
And know what the fuck
Those
you
guys,
were doing.
But they were dealing with toggle switches, and they were dealing with jumpers, and I mean, and that, some of that stuff I was doing whenever I was the 90s or whatever. I knew a lot. I don't know shit anymore. I mean, the technology has gone so far past what I know.
My mind is in NFL right now, so that's all I think about right now.
Yeah, well,
it's the NFL.
But so there's NFL nerds. There's the baseball
fantasy
nerds.
Football.
You know what's fucked up is
stats
so go
and all that
go with
shit.
that. I'm all about stats, and I can probably spit out all kinds of shit, but I don't do any fantasy.
Well, you probably should, because we could make some money off of that. But you go with the sabermetrics and the sabermetricians, the baseball nuts that just sit there and analyze numbers.
Moneyball.
They don't even like watching the game.
They
just
don't even
love,
want to watch the game.
No.
Yeah, they
love the numbers.
Yeah, they've even gotten to the point where I listen to the local guy here in town, and he's like, they would rather not even see people out on the field. They'd rather play this
that would
shit
taint their judgment
in their minds.
Yeah. If they can look at the numbers and say, well, his whatever, his OBP is this, and his whatever,
but that's not real life.
His WAR is this.
Yeah.
And
Fuck war. God, war.
You know what?
So
There's
stupid.
there's no. Well,
But that's how some guys are built.
Totally. But I love the postseason baseball because that's where you live and die.
Right. Well, I guess the question for the sabermetrician, the baseball nerd, is that can you parlay that nerddom, that the data, the raw data into a? I mean, it'll obviously get you to the postseason, but can you parlay that into a postseason success?
Ask anyone on the Nationals team if they can.
Right.
And
that's, I mean, every team right now.
So you look
is
at the
trying
Nationals,
to evaluate statistics
they've
to
all
make
got
their
one
team
on the
better.
staff, right? They've all got one, at least one statistician.
But you look at the Nationals with Scherzer and Strasburger and Harper.
Yeah.
And that is a team that honestly should hoist.
Yeah, they should on paper.
Yeah. But as soon as they get into postseason, they're Washington.
Yeah.
They're Washington.
See, there's the human element, right?
Well, somebody said today they've got arguably the best pitcher in baseball, probably going to win a Cy Young again this year.
Scherzer.
And arguably the best position player in baseball in Harper. I mean, he's in the top 5.
Right.
Those two players alone should be able to carry your team pretty far. And if you put even a halfway decent supporting cast around them,
well, if
that
you have
team should be dominating.
you have a 1-2 with
every year they
Scherzer and Strasburg.
Right.
A 1-2 should be able to get you all the way through the postseason.
So
I watched.
Yet every year
you
they
listen to the
disappoint.
Fast Lane,
Yeah, I
right.
listen to
So
Fast
I think it was on the Fast Lane I was listening to. They were talking about what would you rather have? Would you rather have the
pitching or the position?
So the Cubs, the position players, the youth that the Cubs have, all their position players, or the youth that the Cardinals have
and
all their pitching
I would
staff?
much rather have the pitching.
I agree,
because you can take and like he said, at best, you're going to have 4 balls hit at you in the night. And you're good enough to be in this game. You're good enough to be in this game.
right? You should be able to field those balls.
You should be able to field those balls.
Well, here's what I would say. If you're going to pick one player throughout the season, I'd rather have that stud position player, hitter. Throughout the playoffs, I'd rather have that stud pitcher. Because that position player, that stud hitter, can carry you, win games for you with their bat.
If they're hot all the
but
time.
if they're, that's what I'm saying. If they're the stud
you gotta have,
hitter,
I'm telling
they're
you,
going to
man.
win games for you. Where that pitcher's only going to pitch every 5 games.
There's one constant through professional sports, and it's
pitching.
Defense wins championships.
Hey,
but
defense wins
that
championships.
starting pitcher, if you're only talking one guy, he's only pitching every 5 games.
Totally
but in the
agree.
playoffs,
Yeah.
Hey,
he's pitching every 3 games, if not every 2.
No, we're
Let's
not.
go-
We're
let's
talking
go-
about the pitching
let's
staff.
go-
We're talking about the youth
Well,
of the
okay,
Cardinals
I'm
pitching
saying if
staff.
you're
Let's
picking
go
a
back
guy,
last
For
year.
one, I agree.
Right.
I tend to agree with you. Yeah, because
let's go back 1 year. 1 year. Verlander.
okay,
That's
he
it.
carried them through the playoffs.
I think he got a ring. I don't know. And he's having a
No, he
baby
did.
with one of the half hottest women in the world.
Right. But if you could say, would you rather have Verlander or Altuve throughout the season, the course of the season? And you said you have to give up one of them.
But what's
Who would you give up?
what's my alternative to Altuve? If I
Joe
only
Blow
had,
player.
if I had to go back, if I didn't have to have the worst player
he's
in
still
the
a major
world,
league middle infielder.
right? If
Right.
I could still have a
Major
major
league
league
starter.
middle infielder or Verlander, I would go pitching every time. Pitching wins. 0-1 Diamondbacks, Schilling and Johnson.
Okay.
Beat the Yankees.
Verlander pitches on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Well, they're not
No,
all
hell
shit.
no.
Somebody else
You're a
is
Major
pitching.
League
No,
Baseball
I'm just
team.
saying.
They're all going to be shit.
Altuve's playing all 5 of those
Hey,
games.
but here's the
Verlander
thing.
isn't
No, no,
pitching
no.
again until Saturday.
Bullshit. They'll run them guys. They fucking ran Verlander on low rest in last
in the
year.
playoffs. That's you're right. That's what I said. In the playoffs, if I had to pick a guy, I'd pick an elite starting pitcher. Throughout the season, I'd pick an elite hitter.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Whatever.
Well, and that's why there's baseball nerds.
That's right.
Yeah,
And,
you
and,
fucking hot on.
start talking about RBI and WAR and ERA and all these bullshit stats.
Oh,
hey, there's something to it. Well, I don't know that
I love stats. But
we haven't articulately defined what a nerd is, but I think
we tried. We tried to
we did
bounce
all right.
around. It's something that I thought about, and I really.
This is what you fuckers get when you keep us up late at night.
Right.
You know?
I will say this though: what you all should take from this is nerd is not a connotation that is stereotypical. Nerd can be a million different things.
Well, right.
Do we all
There's
agree?
baseball
Well,
nerds. There's
yeah.
car nerds. There's
But I will
computer
say,
nerds. There's
growing up, I was considered a nerd. I don't feel like I was the stereotypical nerd of like completely social awkward, but I was smart. I got good grades, played video games and stuff.
War kilt.
Yeah. But it was embarrassing, right? Like you did not want to be called a nerd.
No,
you did not
no,
want to be
no,
associated
no.
with nerds. You didn't want to be seen
It was
with
a
people who were
disparaging
nerds,
comment.
right?
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
So I feel like that has changed a little bit. Where I don't know if it's even though
It's
people
almost
take
a badge
it as
of honor.
they say that. I still think if you were considered a nerd, you'd probably rather be a jock or that super cool guy. You'll wear
Yeah.
the badge of nerd, but you'd rather not. Probably
Well,
would be
I think-
my
I
guess.
think
Try wearing the badge
I
of
don't know,
asshole.
There's been a lot of
That's a hard badge to wear.
there's been a lot of 80s nerds
yeah.
who have children now that are telling their little baby nerds that what
Go be a nerd.
well, kind of what my dad told me is like, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You,
The perception of
one day you'll be signing their paycheck,
Right.
and that's all you
Perception-
need to keep in mind.
perception is key to that.
Well, yeah,
and,
just-
and
just-
that's what I'm saying. The
Well, focus
perception
on
of
the
nerd
long.
should be gone.
Focus on the long haul. So you can be a nerd in high school. That's 4 years of your fucking life. That doesn't matter for shit.
Which actually, if all them people that run around with Letterman jackets and you got them number on the side, just know that's not graduation. That's expiration.
Right.
That's when you need to hang it up, asshole.
Yeah, but
Don't wear that next year to your fucking job.
Right. Yeah.
I think
it's time to
just
hang it up.
generally
Yeah.
people are more accepting now of every type of person.
Yeah, I
Agreed.
agree with that.
Yeah.
So
Totally agree with
the
that.
whole nerd just being one of those types is more accepting
Yeah.
or is more accepted.
I don't even think
So-
it's a derogatory connotation anymore.
Yeah, not necessarily. It can be
Just like
a cool thing.
openly masturbating in a park. I really don't think
Like
it's a
that's
big
No,
deal.
way
hold on.
more
So that-
accepted now
that-
than it used to be.
Ah,
No, it is, Ryan.
No,
Trust
I'm
me.
telling you, it's fine.
Wow.
You
In
would not
certain
believe
circles, maybe. I don't know.
You would not believe how many times I've been to the park and just the feeling caught
And I'm
me.
totally
Yeah.
cool with it. Like I see Joe over there,
Right.
and it's
Jesus
like
We
Christ.
wave.
Hey, man.
Who
What?
ever
Yeah.
thought that I'd be the voice of reason in this
Not
thing?
a double wave. I mean, I'm
No.
busy over here. I'm busy.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh,
don't
my
like.
You find a bush or something at least?
I don't find a
No?
bush.
Sometimes it's just like the head nod. Just be like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
This is
Hey,
getting
well,
weird.
you're nodding your head.
Boy, we have an intervention with him. I mean, he is completely off the fucking rails.
And he's just walking
I
with
need
me.
another beer.
He's just walking with me down this fucking primrose path.
We're going to tuck him in tonight.
I got you. Hell, I don't know. Maybe it'll be fun.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe
Yeah.
you'll be my new
this,
bowling.
Joe.
You'll be my new bowling.
No.
You don't have
Jesus.
to work tomorrow.
All right, I'm going to have to break this up. In the meantime, check us out on the social media stuff at Load This Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Send us an email, loadthispodcast@gmail.com, if you'd like to tell us to shut the hell up or to
Shit
talk
just
about
got gay.
something that you would find more interesting, or to tell us that masturbation in a public park is unacceptable. That would be welcome feedback at this point.
At this point.
Or if you're just a nerd and you're proud and you want to tell the world about it.
Fucking say, hey, look, motherfucker. If I'm down in my mom's basement and I'm wearing Green Lantern, it's only because it's Wednesday and that's Meatloaf Day. And I can fucking do what I want because tomorrow I'm going to be in Flash.
Meatloaf sounds amazing.
Does.
Yeah. If you want to send Joe a bottle of Jack Daniels,
That'd be a great thing.
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
any of those things. We got to start working on our Christmas list. We're gonna have
That shit's coming real close.
an Amazon wish
Get on
list or
that
something
Amazon
like
list,
that. Yeah,
yep.
we're gonna have to work on that. And that's it. That's
I
it.
guess I need a drill now for these bottles.
Yeah.
So
Well, as usual, fuck the
Cubs.
Cubs.
Ah, damn it, Joe! You fucked it up.
try it again. Fuck, he got me. He caught me as usual. I didn't know what the fuck he's
Caught a
doing.
mid yawn or
I
something.
lead into it every time.
Try it. Do
1,
it.
2, 3.
As usual, fuck the Cubs.
There we go. Oh, Jesus,
See,
we gotta really work
he
on
goes
that.
as you see. He
I
added some
know.
bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, goddamn hair swoop over here. Fucked us all.
Hair swoop.
I don't know. You know, like a hair swoop. You know, before you're gonna like walk down the hall or something.
He doesn't have a whole lot of hair. He can't
He's got
swoop
plenty
shit.
of fucking hair. Fuck, what are you talking about? I have no hair.
Ryan's the one with
that's
wavy
true.
hair.
We're talking about hair competition.
Ryan's got fucking beautiful.
All right, let's wrap this shit up, Jared.
Until next time, I'm Jared,
I'm Ryan.
This is Joe.
and get a load of this.
I probably have to pee too. How's our storage looking?
I'm gonna have to buy a hard drive soon enough.
I may be able to help you with that. I may
External?
have. Yeah.
Because I think I don't have any internal bays left.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it has
looking
to
at
be
that.
external.
Let me look into that.
Hook me up.
This is all junk. We're wasting fucking storage here, but
Yeah, we can delete some of it.
yeah.
Did the Cardinals win?
Yes, 5-3, I think.
They were up 5-0 at one point.
Yeah, they
So who
they
blew
gave
the
up a
lead?
little bit. I do 6-4 was the final. They probably made it interesting again.
Did you see John Gant?
Let's see,
Pitcher had a home run.
Washington put 3 on the board in the 8th.
Oh, okay.
So whoever
That probably wasn't Gant.
knew.
I'll just make one.
You know, there's times I wish we could talk politics, and we just can't.
Well, I can tell you the reason. One reason why we can't is I'm not that perversed in it, and
Well,
and
you
I
don't
am
have to be.
totally
You just
not
have to have
what
an
you guys
opinion.
are.
I don't think
Well.
that's the right word either.
Perverse. You're pretty perverse to me.
It is the right word. It's just it's not the right word. The word to be perversed into something is more, like I'm definitely the camera holder in a Bukkake film, so I'm perversed in it, meaning that I'm in it.
Yeah.
You know what I meant.
I got you.
But I totally agree that.
Go ahead and make
I
your
wouldn't
drink,
mind-
man. We're
Well, I got a half of one.
oh,
so,
okay, all right,
Phil,
yeah.
top
So
it
we'll
off?
get through it.
Yeah.
But
no,
Do you
it'll
need to
fuck
pee?
up the
We
mix.
could
It'll fuck
talk-
up the mix.
All right. Do you need to pee? or can I
You
shut the
can't
store?
top off with a fucking
I'll
drink.
make it. I got a large bladder.
I have
I
a
said-
giant bladder.
Yes, you do. You can go
Yes,
like
I do.
weeks. You're like a
yeah,
camel.
no, you are
Yeah.
like a fucking camel. I would love to talk about it. One, I don't want to come across even more stupid than I already am. Two, I'm the opposite of what you guys are.
Here's the thing.
Almost everything.
Well, you are politically. I think you're right.
See,
but
that'd be
you-
good conversation.
Well, that you are you're on the opposite end of the spectrum. But and you and I have talked about this,
right?
And I think you and I have, Jared, have talked about this. Is that if look, the political world today is so toxic that But I think if you are talking to reasonable people
who
see,
I'm not
see the
far
other
left.
side of the argument,
right?
You can make points to me that I'm like, I see what I completely understand why you would think that way and feel that way. I happen to disagree with you, but I can understand it and respect your opinion.
But I don't think you guys are so far right that you can't see the other side.
Goes back to my whole 70%. There's 50% that are way the fuck out here. There's another 50% that are way the fuck out there, and there's a 70% in the middle, and that's where the majority.
Yeah, I know, but the
America
50% way out here and the 50% way out here are the ones that get the goddamn shows.
Well, right, those are the ones that.
Those are the ones that we hear.
Well, those are the ones that are throwing piss on someone in fucking Portland.
So we're briefly going to talk about it. This won't have to be podcast material, but. So the Harley Davidson Trump comments.
See, I don't know,
right?
but I seen that briefly, and I didn't read the thing.
Okay, and again,
same company that he was all
about. He was sucking their dick.
Apparently,
8 months ago.
Apparently, Harley Davidson has decided to start manufacturing overseas instead of all
wholeheartedly
in the U.S. I don't know if they're going to completely stop I can't imagine they're going to do.
So they were always manufacturing overseas. They were assembling here.
Apparently, whatever they're doing is a different thing than they were doing, and it's going to be overseas now.
Okay.
And there were some people boycotting Harley because of that.
Right.
And so Trump came out and said something to the effect of, congrats to those boycotting Harley for going overseas with their manufacturing or whatever. Hopefully this will get them to bring it back to the U.S. That kind of thing. That's basically what I'm paraphrasing, but that's how he said it.
All right.
And people... the media, the left, whatever, were pissed at Trump for how dare he, attack a U.S. company. Like, he's basically telling people to boycott a U.S. company. Who the hell does he think he is? And I'm like, if anybody else said that, it would be like, yes,
go America.
Go America,
Maybe.
Boycott that company that's going overseas. Bring him back. But when Trump says it, it's fuck him. What an asshole.
Well, but here's
that's the shit that pisses me off.
I don't agree, and I don't know the whole story. But I don't agree that Trump should be disparaging Harley Davidson in any way. And here's why. His fucking policies are probably why they're going to assemble over there, because he's imposed these tariffs. And so Harley is like, well, shit, all right, well, so in order to avoid those tariffs, we will just assemble in...
What tariffs? He's not imposing tariffs on companies, U.S. companies manufacturing in the U.S.
But the other countries...
They weren't manufacturing, they were assembling. There's a difference.
Right. Well, and the other countries are imposing tariffs on the U.S. in retaliation for our tariffs. So in order to avoid those,
in order for them to sell Harleys in China, they have to set up a distributor or a manufacturer in China.
Right. And so he's saying,
then stop selling them in China.
Well, not he's saying. So Trump's not saying. Trump, maybe he doesn't understand this, but it's like, dude, it's a retaliation for it's not a retaliation. It is a reaction to the tariffs that you imposed. It's an equal and for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So he imposed tariffs on China. Let's just say, I don't know if it's where they're going is China, but let's just say that it is. So he imposed tariffs on Chinese imports, and China said, well, fuck you, Trump, then here's some more tariffs on your shit. And Harley Davidson's like, well, we still want to sell them over there, so how do we avoid those? Well, we'll open up a plant over there where we'll assemble motorcycles, and that'll help us avoid those tariffs. So if Trump can't understand those...
Harley Davidson.
He understands it. That's all he did for his whole life was business deals.
Well, right. You would think
he doesn't understand that? He understands that way more than he understands being president.
Probably so. Yeah. But you're right. That's what it is. So, because Harley Davidsons have always been assembled in the United States.
Milwaukee.
And only Kenosha. No, that's Snap-on.
Maybe it is Kenosha,
Wisconsin. Yeah. Snap-on. But yeah, they've always been assembled here in the United States, and I guess so now if they're going to assemble in another country, and I guess
I can't blame them.
Well,
I
okay.
mean, hail capitalism.
But then I
will
can't
always
blame
say
him
that.
for putting tariffs on foreign companies. Like,
I don't-
if you want to
This
get
is all just a pissing contest
It's
between
all pissing
these
contest.
countries and the companies. The companies are just pawns in the whole thing, and they're just trying to find ways to avoid damaging their own brand or their own company.
Right.
So you can't fault Harley for saying, "All right, well, we want to continue to have that as a market. How do we continue to make that happen feasibly?"
Right.
And meanwhile, Trump has his
Agenda.
objectives and agenda, and he's trying to create the fairest trade possible between all these countries. So he has to play heavy-handed, as many would
Well,
say. He's playing.
Again, you said it perfect. He's a businessman. He's been doing it forever. He's not a politician.
No,
and you would need at that aspect. You would need a politician.
But a businessman is a politician. They're having to
no,
negotiate and
Absolutely
make
not,
deals
because there's
and like
no such thing as
put
Social
on a good
Security.
face.
There's no such thing as welfare in a business world.
No.
There's no such thing. You can't convince me that welfare would exist in the business world. Does it? Show me
I'm
where
trying to think of an
welfare
example
business-
of how to correlate that. I don't know. I'm gonna give me some
Show
thought.
me where welfare exists in the business in a capitalist business world.
Well, it wouldn't.
I mean,
Because it's defiant against money
'cause
making.
it's socialism,
Right.
or it's borderline socialism,
Right.
But
well,
that's,
you
that's
could.
also
I mean,
the
what
reason
about
why.
a sale? You know, you determine that this
But a
product
sale
is
is
worth
still-
this much, but we're going to sell it for half off. Like,
But at half off,
Why would
but
you ever
do
but
that?
you raise the price twice and then you sell it.
Well, that's supply and demand too. So
Right.
you're only going to lower that price to half off whenever you have too many that you
can't-
can't
right.
sell
Okay.
at
And-
full price.
And then and but you're still making a marginal profit,
Right.
just not at
charity. There it is.
Well-
Companies that contribute to charities is
But that's-
welfare.
that's still
but
not
do
the
they
same.
do they contribute 40%?
I don't
And
know.
they're not contributing out of the goodness of their heart. They're contributing for a tax benefit.
Right.
But they want to help
No,
the kids.
they
They
definitely
wanna help
are
the kids.
doing it for a tax benefit. There are a few
Anyway.
companies, there are a few
We love
corporations
dogs.
that are out there
We're 10
doing
minutes
things
in. Do we
out of
wanna-
the.
Have
No,
an
I
intro.
just-
We can just start talking.
Well, how about you pause it for a second? Because now I
don't
do
know
have
if
to
I-
pee.
I don't know if I can do that.
You can hit pause.
Well, you can.
Here we
look
go.
at-
Look at
we're
that.
like a champ.
You
Beautiful.
can, but you can just outtake this.
You know
shit
how
and-
we knew that would work? Because we're nerds.
Yeah, but you
maybe.
can. You can just fucking grab like half of the fucking
Yeah.
shit we've been
Oh, I
puking
won't-
out here
yeah, I
and,
won't,
and make an episode.
Yeah. It's all good.
We've been Seinfelding this shit for 3 weeks now.
Pretty much. All right, you ready? We're gonna
Yep.
5.